We all know that Earth can be a very dangerous place. But have you ever wondered, what is the most dangerous of them all? Assuming you can take all the precautions like clothing, weapons, gear, a BMW, or whatever comes to your mind, and disregarding any laws relating to access, where would be the most dangerous place that you could go to that you are allowed to be prepared for? Well, sit tight, because you are about to find out. The quick answer is a basement, here, located in Ukraine, but the longer answer is very interesting and totally worth your time to listen to this backstory, so take your popcorn and enjoy the video. The basement is located in a familiar town that we all heard about, called Pripyat, and it is near the even more familiar nuclear power plant called Chernobyl. 30 years ago, in 1986, the Chernobyl power plant experienced a catastrophic disaster that was never before seen in the world. During a routine overnight test, reactor number 4 in the plant experienced a power surge. The nuclear cores inside this reactor grew very fast, and with the attempt to control this temperature, an even worse power surge occurred instead. Due to numerous design flaws inside the reactor, 2 explosions followed by the buildup of steam caused by the core's increasing temperature, the temperature got so big that the nuclear fuel inside of the core began to melt, and this molten fuel began to seep down to the bottom of the reactor. This nuclear lava melted through concrete and pipes down below, where it eventually reached the reactor's basement. The molten mixture of nuclear fuel, control rods, sand, glass, and concrete slowly created an object that is today known as an elephant's foot. To contain the radiation from spewing out into the atmosphere from the reactor, 500,000 workers were brought to construct what became known as sarcophagus. The sarcophagus, in the context of the Chernobyl disaster, refers to a large concrete structure built to contain radioactive debris and prevent the further release of radiation from the damaged reactor. Inside, to this day are sealed 200 tons of radioactive corium, 30 tons of highly contaminated dust, and 16 tons of uranium and plutonium. Being on the roof of this sarcophagus is enough to expose you to a full year's worth of radiation in just 12 minutes, and inside is so lethal that it could kill you in a couple of minutes. Back in the 98-6, while there was no sarcophagus around the radioactive area, scientists were sent into the ruins to search for the nuclear fuel that could cause another explosion and another enormous catastrophe. After 6 months of searching, a team encountered an unbelievably radioactive mass in the basement just around the corner. Using a camera that was controlled by a remote, the team took the very first photographs of the elephant's foot. It was only 2 meters across, but it weighed as much as 100 tons, and at the time, it was so dangerous that it would expose you to 10,000 Roentgen per hour. With that in mind, in just 30 seconds, it would be enough to cause enormous dizziness and fatigue that would last up to 2 weeks. After 2 minutes of being near the elephant's foot, it would be enough to cause your cells to hemorrhage, and after 4 minutes of being near it, it would cause diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. If you were around it for 300 seconds, it would be enough for you to die in the next 2 days. But regardless of all of this, we have the pictures in which people were standing just next to the elephant's foot. The grainy effect in this picture that you are seeing right now is produced by the radiation from the elephant's foot interfering with the film of the camera. To this day, nobody knows what happened to this worker or the photographer taking this picture, but based on the time limits that we mentioned earlier, things were not very good for them. At the moment, they probably didn't even know how dangerous the object was back then, but over the 30-plus years since then, the elephant foot has grown weaker. A study in 1996, 10 years after the disaster, told us that 5 minutes in the presence of the elephant's foot now would be enough to give you radiation sickness, and an hour next to it would be enough to kill you, which is better than the 300 seconds that it used to take back in the day. However, the elephant's foot is still an extremely radioactive and dangerous object, which is, to this day, still hot and still melting the floor of the basement. The elephant's foot will continue to exist for centuries in the dark basement, locked away in the sarcophagus, where the radiation will continue existing for the next 100,000 years. So after all of this being said, this place would for sure be one of the top on your list for the most dangerous place on Earth. Thanks for watching. Press the like and subscribe button if you want to unveil more things.